Life is full of decisions. Now, if you're watching this video, you're approaching 65 or maybe even beyond, and you have made lots of decisions. Some of our decisions are major, some are minor. Some have very little consequences, some are life-changing. It's interesting, they say that on the average, we make about 30 decisions every day. You do the math on that, that's 10,000 a year. You live to be 80, that's 800,000 decisions. It's also interesting, they say that 20% of our decisions will come to regret. Now, as you approach 65, you're going to be confronted with some different decisions. And those decisions have to do with Medicare, Social Security, and retirement. And you certainly want to make the right decisions. And so in this video, I'm going to address some of the issues surrounding those three big decisions, because I'm sure you're like me, you don't want to have any regrets. Let's get started. All right, the first decision I'm going to deal with in the video is the Medicare decision. Now, there's some of you watching this that you have to start Medicare at 65. So those required, notice, to take Medicare A and B at 65. There's actually 5 groups of you. If you fall in one of these categories, you have to start at 65. You have no other alternative. So number one, if you're no longer working, meaning you're retired, and you don't have an employer plan available of you or your spouses, got to start Medicare at 65. Secondly, if you happen to be covered by COBRA insurance, and sometimes that happens, people get a severance package that includes COBRA paid for. What happens is COBRA only pays second once you're Medicare eligible. And so even if COBRA is a great price, sometimes it's lousy, but if it even is a good price, you can keep it for a short period of time, not real long. But what happens is COBRA only pays second to Medicare. So if you stay on COBRA only and you're 65 and beyond, and you haven't enrolled in Medicare, you become the first payer, because again, COBRA only pays second. So that's why you got to go on Medicare at 65. Enroll in A and B, keep COBRA if you want for a short period of time, it's fine, but again, they pay second. And so if you had some kind of a large claim come soon, you didn't enroll in Medicare, COBRA pays second, and you will be the first payer. That's a big deal, because a lot of people make a mistake there. So again, anyone that's retired, no longer working, anyone that's on COBRA, anyone that's actually on what's called TRICARE insurance. That means you're retired from the military, you served our country for 20, 25, 30 years, you have TRICARE insurance. It gets you to 65 and goes on past 65, but it's now called TRICARE for life. But once you're 65, like COBRA, TRICARE only pays second, so you must enroll in Medicare A and B to put them in the first payer position. Fourthly, anyone that is on an ACA plan called the Affordable Care Act plans. That is a plan you went through the healthcare.gov website, or maybe you had someone help you navigate through that. But you have this ACA plan, healthcare.gov plan. And so what happens is, technically, you actually can keep an ACA plan once you're past 65. But the problem with doing that is all the benefits of an ACA plan are gone at 65, meaning there's no longer tax subsidy, there's no cost sharing, you pay the full premium, you pay the full deductible, and so there's no reason to keep an ACA plan once you're eligible for Medicare, because again, they're expensive, you'd pay full price and all that, so you're certainly going to go on Medicare if you've been on an ACA plan, and you do that at 65. And then lastly, anyone that's still working, or their spouse is still working, and you're covered by this employer-provided plan, but it's considered to be a small group by Medicare, and that would be 19 employees on the payroll or less. Has nothing to do with whether they're on the group plan or not, don't care. All I care about is how many people are on the payroll. Part-time, full-time, doesn't matter either. But if we have 19 employees on the payroll or less, that's considered to be a small group. And once that you hit 65, then that group plan that you're on will only pay second. Medicare is in the first payer position. So you have to enroll in Medicare to put Medicare in the first payer position. And here's my whole point. You're required to start Medicare A and B at 65 if you're in any of those 5 categories, which means what? There's some people that don't have to go on Medicare at 65, and it's only one group of people, and that's folks that are still employed or their spouse is still employed, and the company they work for has 20 employees on the payroll or more. That's considered to be a large group, and that group does not have to go on A or B. I'll talk about a little bit more about that in a minute, but you don't have to do anything with Medicare, A or B. And again, it could be your employer plan, it could be your spouse's employer plan, and so at 65, you're not required to take, and that's the only exception, all right, of not taking. So let me show you this slide. Now, there's those that are not required. Why? Again, because we have this group over here, a group plan, 20 employees or more on the payroll, so you're not required to do it, but notice that here, but you should at 65. Why is that? Because you've taken the time to compare the group plan with your Medicare option. your group plan has to let you go on Medicare at 65 if you choose to do that. And so what we encourage you to do is compare Medicare option with your group plan. The premium, what's it cost you to be on the plan? What's the deductible? Do you ever meet that? What's the co-insurance, 80-20, 90-10? What's the max out of pocket? What does it cost you to be on that plan if you were to get cancer? $10,000, $15,000? But compare all the details of the work plan with Medicare, and sometimes Medicare is a better financial option. We see this regularly. Also, keep this in mind. If you and your spouse are both Medicare eligible and you're covered by the work plan, I'd like to know what's the employee-only price plus the employee plus spouse price. Sometimes employee-only is $100, add the spouse is $500 a month. So sometimes we'll have the employee stay on the group plan, but put the other Medicare-eligible spouse then on Medicare. And that sometimes will make sense. But the whole point is you can go on Medicare at 65 if your group plan, as it compares to Medicare, is not as good. Maybe it's a lousy plan. Maybe you're not happy with the coverage, happy with the network and all those details. Go on Medicare at 65. Do you have to? No. But should you? Maybe. And you got to take the time to do the comparison. And then lastly, those that are not required, again, why? Group is 20 or more. That's the key. We have 20 or more people in that group, and so we don't have to take. But notice what this says. I'm saying here, and you should not take at 65. And this is someone who took the time to compare Medicare with the group plan, and the group plan is better. It makes more sense financially to stay on that plan. Secondly, it'd be anyone that should not who also has other family members covered on that group plan. Your spouse that's younger, that doesn't have any other options for insurance, or your children. Remember, children are covered on a plan up until age 26. And so again, if someone else is going to be impacted by you going on Medicare and they're going to be impacted adversely, then don't go on Medicare. You're not required to whatsoever. Now, in this realm of people who are in these large group plans, some people will make the decision to go ahead and enroll in what is called A-only. A-only. Now, sometimes people enroll in A-only because they're told if they don't enroll in A at 65, they're going to be penalized. And folks, that's not true. If Medicare A is free for you, meaning zero premium to you, the reason you have it zero premium is because you paid in 40 quarters, 10 years worth of taxes into Medicare. Most of you have paid in 30 or 40 years. But all it takes is 10 years of Medicare taxes being paid, 40 quarters, and you're going to get Medicare at a zero premium. Okay? And there is no penalty. Penalties are percentages. What's 1,000 of zero? Zero. There's no penalty on A. If it's zero premium, it's always going to be zero. Whether you take a 65 or 70 or 105, it doesn't matter. The only people penalized are those that have to buy A, which is only 1% of the population. They don't have 40 quarters, can't get it from a spouse. They have to buy it. They better start at 65 or they will be penalized. But if it's free, zero premium, it always will be. So don't enroll because you think there'll be a penalty. Here's why I'm mentioning this. Because some of you shouldn't even do A-only. Why? Because you are contributing to an HSA. That's called a health savings account. It doesn't say flexible spending, doesn't say health reimbursement arrangement. It's a true health savings account. They're wonderful, like healthcare IRAs. The money goes in, it's tax deductible. If it's a growth account, it grows tax deferred. If you use it for medical expenses, it's tax exempt. And so it's a wonderful opportunity to have an HSA. 2024, I think the max contribution's $4,150 plus $1,000 catch up. If you're a couple, a family, it can be $8,300 plus $1,000 catch up if you're above 55. And so the point is, these are wonderful accounts. And so what I would do if I have an HSA, I would not do A-only. Why? I think the benefits of having an HSA far outweigh enrolling in A-only, and A-only in this large group. Medicare second. Medicare in the second payer position for the A, hospital side, will not pay any deductibles, will not pay any co-pays, only co-insurance. So again, it's a pretty lousy second payer. And it may pay something, but again, only co-insurance. So I would say if you have an HSA, do nothing at all with Medicare. Now, if you don't have an HSA, then it is fine to do A-only. It's all right. Okay, now remember, Medicare is going to be in the second payer position because your group over here is going to be first. But it doesn't hurt you to enroll in A-only, and they may pay something eventually. All right, and so I want to make sure that you make the right decision when it comes to Medicare. All right, that brings us then to the Social Security decision. And so again, I want to deal with some aspects as it relates to Social Security. The first one, though, is just simply knowing your full retirement age. Now, some of you watching this may already know this, but not everyone does. So let's just cover kind of the calculation of the formula we follow for full retirement age. Now, Keep in mind what we're talking about here is also referred to as FRA. Sometimes they call it normal retirement age. All right. And so what we're trying to find out here is for retirement age, what is the month that we will reach full retirement age and the year. All right. Now today I'm shooting this video. It is January the 17th, 2024. So let's just say that someone is turning 65 today. They're turning 65 today. That means they were born January 17th, 1959, right? Because we'd had 65, that's right, it'd be 2024. So they were born in January 1st, 1959. And so they're turning 65, but let's calculate, let's go through the calculation for full retirement age. All right, so here's the way it works. Anyone born between 1943 and 1954 has a full retirement age of 66 even. But after 1954, the government started adding 2 months to everyone's full retirement age. So we have 66 and 2 months. If we're born in 1956, 66 and 4 months. 1957, 66 and 6 months. 1958, you see the point, 66, 8 months. 1959, we have 66 plus 10 months. And then once we hit 1960 now we have a full retirement age of 67. I was born in 1961, so that's mine. But we're saying this is someone born this day here, so their full retirement age, again, they're born in 1959, is going to be 66 and 10 months. So here's how we calculate that. First thing we do is when are they going to hit 66? 1/17 of 2025. But we're not yet full retirement age because, again, we got to add 10 months. So the way we do that, we're going to go February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November. Okay, so that means 11/1 of 2025, that is their full retirement age, month and year. All right, and so that's the first thing you have to do. Look at the chart, figure out your full retirement age. Secondly, let me show what we need to look at. Hey, if you found this video helpful and if you want to see more Medicare information just like it, then go below, right below the video, and you can give us a thumbs up as well as subscribe to our channel. And every time I put a new video, which is about 2 every week, you'll be notified of that video, and others just like you who need this vital information will get it as well. All right, so in my example, we had someone's date of birth as 1/17/1959, and we said their full retirement age is going to be 11/1/2025. That's the month and that's the year. All right, now the second aspect we will look at is as far as taking our benefit. Now you're going to notice, I'm going to show you here, what if we take before full retirement age? What's that going to look like? How about if we take right at full retirement age or after full retirement age? So again, we have someone that's going to be full retirement age at 66 and 10 months. And so we know what that's going to be. So let's say at their full retirement age, they're eligible for, let's just call it $2,000 on a monthly benefit. Now, keep in mind, folks, when I talk about this, there's actually 4 ways we take Social Security. Number 1, retirement, which I'm talking about here. We have spousal benefits, which is basically 50%. Survivor benefit, which is basically 100% of the spouse that died. And then we have disability benefits, and again, that's going to vary as well. But here's my point. Someone is eligible for, let's say, for a $2,000 benefit. That's about average right now at their full retirement age. But if they take early, so that means that they take at 65, 64, 63, 62, they're actually going to lose 6% annually. It's a 0.5% a month. They'll bring it down actually to the month. But my point is we're going to lose 6%. We're going to lose 12%. We're going to lose 18%. And we're going to lose 24%. So watch this. My full retirement age is 67. If I took at 62, and I didn't, I'm already past that. If I took at 62, I would have lost a full 30%. And so the point is when we take before, whatever the reduction is going to be lifetime reduction. All right, so you got to think through the consequences of that. Now again, you have your checks are longer, but you're going to have less amount, so we're going to lose a percentage of that full retirement age. Now, so if I go at full retirement age, then that's going to be my benefit. Just what I get. There's no reduction. Now, if I wait, I can actually grow the account. So now I can take at 67, where I'm almost 67. So we just call that 68, 69, and 70. And so what happens here is I actually grow the account 8%. Now, someone, by the way, had a full retirement age of 66 back here, and they went to 70. Then they would have grown that account a full 32%, all right? But now, because they've been adding these years, pretty hard to do that. And so we have 8, we have 16% after 2 years, and then the third year, we grew that a full 24%. So that's pretty easy math to do. So I could grow that check 24%, so that would be $2,480, right? And so what I grew that amount, by $480. But what happened for that 3 years, which would be 2 times, would be $24,000 times 3 years. So I gave up what? $72,000 for an additional $480. And there's always some kind of a break-even point. So what you do, you take the 480 in the 72,000. That would show you how many months beyond this age you would have to live to reach that break-even point. And what we always tell people is this: if everyone in your family's dying before the age of 80, probably not wise to wait. But if, hey, mom lived to be 90 and dad lived to be 95, or they're still living, and you have longevity in your family, it may make sense, if you can get by with the cash flow, without the cash flow, to go ahead and grow that account. There's no right or wrong. It just depends on your longevity of life, and we don't know that for sure. But the whole point is, this is how we look at this number. Is it worth it to go ahead and delay? I'm going to get more, but again, I'm going to have to live longer to reach that break-even point. Okay, so the point is, you have to decide when you're going to take. So if we take early, we take less. We take later, we're going to get more. If we just wait to full retirement age, then we'll just get the benefit that we're eligible for at that particular time. Now, the third and final issue I want to deal with about Social Security is this whole issue of people who decide to go ahead and take Social Security before they hit their full retirement age, and they decide to keep working. Okay, and so once we hit full retirement age, then we don't have to have this earnings test. It goes away the month and year that we turn full retirement age. But prior to that, we're going to be subject to the earnings test. Now, keep this in mind. When they're testing your earnings, they're saying if you're above a certain limit, then you'll be basically penalized. They're going to withhold some of that money that you're above from your Social Security. And so what happens is when they test earnings, the only thing they're going to test is your wages, your working wages, your salary, your commissions, however you're paid, your hourly rate. They're going to test that. They will not test rental income, investment income, distributions from IRAs, 401ks, pension income, annuity income. None of that's on the table, just working wages. Okay? And so the way this is calculated is we actually have a couple ways we look at it. Number one, we have what we call a low earnings test number, and we have a higher earnings test number. Higher earnings test number, okay? And then we have no earnings test at all. In this example right here, once this person reaches 11/1/2025, they have no earnings test whatsoever. That thing's going to go away totally. But up until that month and year, they're going to have an earnings test. Okay, so let's talk about these numbers. And again, these numbers change on an annual basis. But for this year, 2024, the low earnings test number is going to be $22,320 for the whole year. The higher earnings test number this year is $59,520, again, for the whole year, yearly amounts. So with the low number, for every $2 I make above that, they actually take $1 out of my Social Security benefit. On the higher number, not only can we make more, but for every $3 above that, they take $1 out. So the penalty is less as well. Okay, so let me explain how when they withhold this money, let's keep it simple. Let's say that's our earnings test this year, $22,320, and let's say that we're above that by $8,000. Okay, $8,000 above, so that means we made $30,320. So we're $8,000 above. That means they're going to withhold $4,000 in Social Security checks. So let's say my benefit is $2,000 a month. They're going to withhold 2 checks, and then they'll turn on Social Security. So they front load it. So they withhold the amount, then turn it on. All right, and so the whole point is you want to make sure you understand that's how they handle that penalty. Now, by the way, you will eventually get that back, but I'm telling you, it's not lump sum; it's kind of prorated, so whole nother video. But if we're here, for every $3 above, they're going to take out. So if I'm getting, let's say, $6,000 above, they're going to withhold $3,000. My check is $2,000. They're going to hold 2 checks because they don't withhold a partial check. So you're going to have to see that we're definitely going to be penalized. Now, remember, hit full retirement age, it's gone. So let me tell you how long the low number applies and how long the high number applies. So first off, the low number applies as soon as I start taking Social Security, if I take it at 62. So in my example here, this person here was eligible for Social Security January 2021. Got it? I just took 62 plus that because it's always the month of. It's not the day of. It's the month of. Now, if you're born on the 1st, they move it forward a month. Medicare does the same thing. So it's the month of. And so they would have hit January 1 of 2021. They could have started taking Social Security. Again, they would have taken reduction. And they also, if they're working, they can only make so much money, that lower amount, all the way through. Now watch this. All the way through the December before the year they turn 65. So in my example, this would have been all the way through December of 2024. Remember, the year before I turn, I'm always subject to that lower amount. Then the year I turn, then they raise the amount. So in this example, this person, they turn full retirement age in 2025. So this higher amount would have been 1/1/2025 all the way through October 2025. Because remember, once we hit full retirement age, the earnings test goes away. And so all those months leading up to that, I could still make the $59,520. It's not prorated. In fact, let's say if this was just 3 months, I could still make $59,000 in that 3-month window. It's not prorated by the month. All right, so hopefully you're clear on that. So if we keep working, we're going to have to decide, is it worth the penalty or the withholding to go ahead and take Social Security? And most people, they'll say, well, I don't get my first check till, January. I don't get my first check till July. That means they withheld 6 months worth of checks. I wouldn't do that if it were me. I just would not. I would just go ahead and wait. If you're that far above the earnings test, I would go ahead and delay Social Security and let that account grow. All right? And so those are the issues surrounding Social Security. Hey, Medicare can be very confusing. In fact, people make mistakes all the time because of how confusing it is. So what I've done is I've actually created a Medicare, notice this, Essentials Workshop, where you have the opportunity to really learn everything that you need to know about Medicare so that you can make Medicare decisions. There are thousands of people every month that watch this workshop, and we get lots of reviews saying that this is something that really was helpful to them. And so what you can do is down here below in the comments section, you'll see where it says pinned comment. At the very top of those pinned comments is a link. And you click on that link, what we're going to do is we're going to give you free access to this Medicare Essentials Workshop. And we want you to watch it because we don't want you to make any mistakes. All right, that brings us then to the retirement decision, specifically the retirement income decision. Now, there's a lot I could say about this. I am a financial advisor, and so get into a lot of these kind of details, but I just really kind of want to high level, though, make it productive. But let me just kind of tell you how we see things as we help people with financial planning. Number one thing we're going to look at, I call this the kind of the ABCs of retirement income planning. This is the A, and that's assets. In order to know for sure how you're going to strategize for your income planning or retirement, you're going to have to look very seriously at all your different assets, different types of assets. Obviously, 401ks, if you work for a for-profit company. Nonprofit, you may have a 403B. Some people have traditional IRAs, some people have Roth IRAs, and some people actually have both of those. Now, you have a brokerage account. You have a Schwab account or Merrill Lynch, somebody that you actually have this brokerage account. Typically, they're managing that money for you. It could be savings checking, miscellaneous. You may have rental income, a variety of things, maybe savings bonds. But you got to look at all your assets because what's happening, once I retire, I'm no longer going to get any paycheck. So this is what I've been saving. So these assets then can produce my paychecks for me. All right. Now, secondly, we're going to look at would be the budget. The budget. And again, if you're this age, you know how to budget. Even if you don't have a formula written down, you understand the importance of knowing for sure what it's going to take for you to live. Now, when we look at a budget, we actually look at two things. We look at living expenses. This is housing and gas and utilities and food and all just the normal stuff. But also in retirement, what do you want your lifestyle to look like? Some people travel all their life, and when they retire, they don't want to travel anymore. Others haven't traveled much, and they're ready to see the world. But that's what I mean by lifestyle, because you really have to decide, how do you want to live? That's very important. So living number and the lifestyle number as well. All right, now, of course, we got to live within our means for sure, but then we have to decide, okay, can this be accomplished? Do I have really the assets that I need to live with this, kind of a living expensive lifestyle? So obviously there's going to be some kind of a number established to that. And then the letter C, as we talk about our ABCs, now we also have in cash flow. So how are we going to make that happen? What's the best way to go about this? How can we wisely make sure that we can now live 20, 25, 30 years without a paycheck? So again, we're talking assets that we're going to convert into cash flow. So again, most people are going to come up with some kind of monthly budget amount. Whatever that is, just keep it simple. Let's say my monthly budget amount is $6,000. All right? And then we subtract that from what I'm saying would be monthly income that would be guaranteed. What I mean by that is this would be any kind of a pension income you have, could be an annuity income you have. This could be where Social Security falls in. So in other words, things that are really guaranteed sources of income. All right? So let's just say this is $3,000. So I need $6,000. I have $3,000 in this kind of income that's guaranteed, Social Security, pension, annuity stuff, but I'm always going to have, well, not always, but usually people are going to have some kind of a monthly gap. And so in my example, this is going to be about $3,000. Okay, so where are we going to come up with that $3,000? Well, we don't go back to work or retire. So again, this is where we're going to go into our assets to decide what's the best way to position or distribute our assets to make sure that we get that $3,000. Okay, so let's look at that next. All right, so here we go, my last slide. I hope this will be helpful to you. So again, we're talking about this income decision, how we can design this whole income plan around the assets that we have. And remember what these were. These were our IRAs and our 403B, our 401k plans, checking, savings, miscellaneous income. So all this income, what are we going to do with that? And so remember what we said earlier, we had a budget of $6,000. We said we already turned on Social Security, or we're going to. That's our Social Security, maybe some pension income here. And so we had a deficit of $3,000, all right? So the first thing that we want to do is we want to take some of these assets, and we believe you ought to have some kind of a liquid bucket. Now, when you're working, this is normally called an emergency fund. In case you happen to lose your job, you may want to have 6 months set aside or a year set aside in an emergency fund. Well, we no longer have a job, so you just have to decide, well, what's your comfort level? Some want to have maybe $50,000 in the bank or $10,000 in the bank, whatever, but you have to decide on some kind of a number. And this would be a number that you want to readily get to. If you're going to plan to buy a car in the near future and you want to pay cash for it, or you're going to take a vacation in the near future, again, that money ought to be set aside in some type of a liquid type bucket. Okay, so we're going to put some money here, right? I'll use this. So we're going to put money in there. Now, again, we don't want to overfund our liquid bucket because this is going to be something that may be in some kind of a money market. Again, there's no risk involved, nor is there any kind of return. But we want enough in there to know that, hey, if we want to take that vacation or we're going to buy that car or whatever we're going to do, help out the grandkids for college or something, then that money then is set aside and is liquid. So some of our assets go in here, not a lot, but some. Now when it comes to income, now the way we view as we help people with financial planning is we believe income, all of it should be guaranteed. Guaranteed. Now what I mean by that is your income, whatever that need is, that $3,000, you need it. And so it needs to be guaranteed. And so with this kind of a bucket, basically what we're going to do is we're going to have to put some money in here of our assets. But right here, we're going to have no risk. I mean, no risk whatsoever. It needs to be guaranteed income like it would be Social Security or a pension income. Now let me just go back and say this. This here is typically going to be some kind of a bank product, money market, whatever, just some type of an instrument that is going to be very, very safe. And this really is as well. But we like insurance products here. And the reason for that is because we can get guaranteed lifetime income with some insurance products. And again, I'm not going to put any more money than I need to fill that gap or to give me whatever income I'm going to need. But again, I don't want any risk with this particular bucket. And again, I won't put any more money in there than I need to. But then the rest of it, what's going to happen is this. This is the bucket I want to put as much money as I can. Now, this kind of product is going to be a brokerage product. This is going to be mutual funds. This could be, your exchange traded funds, those kinds of things. This is where maybe you have a particular stock that you like. But this is money here that is going to be at risk. Why? Because we want to get some return. Because the reality is if you're going to live 25, 30 years, we need this money to grow. Why? Because if healthcare expenses are going to go up, inflation's a reality, taxes are a reality, so we want to prepare for all those, and this is really where we want to get that money. So what we do in planning is this. I want to put very little here, no more than I need to here, and I want to try to load this thing up here. But again, this is money that I don't have to touch. Why? Because my income is guaranteed. I'm not worried about that whatsoever, and this is here for special things, okay? So this is kind of the way that we would structure a plan. Again, this is pretty simple, pretty high level, but we want to make sure that you make good decisions when it comes to your retirement income so that not only will you live, but you'll be able to enjoy the lifestyle that you want as well.